just wanted to give you a short explanation about how sustainable tourism program from Rainforest Alliance works. Yeah? Well, to begin with the concept of sustainable tourism, it's a concept that started up in the 90s after a meeting of the World Tourism Organization and the WTTC, which is the World Travel and Tourism Council. These are two big organizations worldwide that discussed a bit about the issues that are related with tourism. Tourism, especially when it's bad bad managed, in a bad way, it can cause a lot of problems in pollution. A lot of problems, social problems as well, and a lot of problems in terms of the distribution of the benefits of the tourism itself. Some examples of those could be seen as mass tourism, for example. Big hotels that go into small coastal towns, for example, in the Caribbean. It has happened. Big hotels go set up a big chain, and the benefits are not very well shared with the communities. There's social problems, poverty, prostitution, things like that are related with tourism and have been problems in the past. So the concept of sustainable tourism tries to basically acknowledge all these problems of tourism, trying to make it more responsible with the environment, responsible with the people, the communities, and of course make it profitable in the long term. Yeah, so that's the main criteria of sustainable tourism, and basically it works in the three spheres that we were talking about before. The social aspects, social cultural aspect, the economical aspect, and the environmental part of it. So trying to make things right in those three areas. So it's a concept that comes from the sustainable development concept itself. Which means trying to have an activity that will last in the long term. So the resources that you're using for this activity can be maintained in the long term, and the idea is that your sons and the sons of your sons and others, the thing is that they can share and experience the same thing you're experiencing now. So to do tourism in such a way, you have to be careful in the way you manage the natural resources and the way you treat communities and in the way you make profit out of it. Yeah, so that's the main idea of the sustainable tourism. Now, in terms of Rainforest Alliance, what are we doing, especially here in Ecuador? And I think it's the same definitely in other countries in South America and in Central America about the sustainable tourism program. We work with the main idea of best practices in sustainable tourism, which is basically a concept that includes, we have a small booklet that identifies all these concepts, in the economic, social, and environmental fields. You have basically the idea is to work in all these three areas of tourism, trying to make it better and more responsible. Yeah. So basically, what we do is the process is the next. We have several steps that we need to follow with the operations. First of all, we go to specific regions. For example, in let's say, of course, in the rainforest right now, because we're working mostly in this area right now. We go to a specific town. We set up a seminar, we invite people from all the hotel sectors, and we invite them and we give a small chat about what is sustainable tourism, First of all, introduce the concept of sustainability, and then what is Rainforest doing in terms of helping operations improve their service, improve their environmental standards, and improve their relations with communities and their own staff. So explain a little bit about that. Then we from these seminars, usually operations are interested, they show interest to work with us. So we sign agreements with each operation, and after we sign an agreement, we go to the operation and do a field work about 1 or 2 days where we come here, we make a verification or a diagnosis, a small study that we do. We visit all the operation, we try to understand how they're running their operation, and we identify areas where they need a bit help in terms of the sustainability. How can they improve their quality? How can they improve their, for example, service in the restaurant, or the way they're making food, hygiene, for example. In other areas, well, they need some help in how they process the waste, how they manage the waste, liquid waste, solid waste. All these different areas, we try to study that in this small diagnosis that we do. Then we write down a document from this. We give it out with recommendations to all the operations, and after that, we start doing the training. We identify specific topics that they need support on, and we go on site and try to do training on these subjects. Yeah. So for this, we also have some specialized tools that we use the manual. This is called Best Practices in Sustainable Tourism, We always use this booklet in all the training that we do, and right now we're developing specific tools. It's more, again, more guidelines, but more specific to, for example, food and beverage services. We have another for the interpretation. That's more for the guides. That's another. We have another one for transportation as well. Trying to, because tourism is a change of activities, you know, that you do from when you greet the tourists in the airport, when you bring it to the lodge, once in the lodge, how you treat them, you know, how you serve the food. All this process we try to acknowledge by having specific tools that we can give to the operations, so they can keep improving their services and their environmental as well as social standards.